Good morning and welcome to Rising. We have another absolutely fantastic show for you today on this Thursday morning, and I'm joined by Niall Stanage. Good morning, Niall.
Good morning, Robby. Great to be with you.
Great to be with you. It's it's the end of the week for me,
Yes.
but you'll be here Friday.
I'll
with
be here for Amber. Yes,
Excellent.
always a pleasure. I hope you enjoy a leisurely weekend after your 4-day week.
We're not quite there yet. I've got quite a few other programs and projects and writing to do for the rest of the day, but I am excited to talk about the news we have going on.
Absolutely.
Epstein updates
are
always of interest to us and to our viewers.
Absolutely. Coming up on Rising, House Democrats released those bombshell emails written by deceased convicted pedophile Jeffrey Epstein referencing President Trump. This prompted House Republicans to release 20,000 pages of other Epstein documents.
Additionally, the FBI has arrested Gavin Newsom's former chief of staff on charges including conspiracy to commit bank and wire fraud.
And British broadcaster Piers Morgan publicly apologised to tennis star Novak Djokovic for criticising him for not getting the vaccine during the 2022 Australian Open. But first of all, let's start in our time-honoured fashion, Robby. What's on your radar?
Well, Niall, another huge win for President Trump, who calmly, rationally, and concisely explained to Fox News host Laura Ingraham why the H-1B visa program, which allows high-skilled foreign laborers to come to this country to work, is here to stay. Watch this.
H-1B visa thing will not be a big priority for your administration, because if you want to raise wages for American workers, you can't flood the country with tens of thousands or hundreds of thousands of foreign workers.
You also do have to bring in talent. When
we have plenty of talented people here.
No, you don't.
We don't have talented people here?
No, you don't have certain talents, and people have to learn. You can't take people off an unemployment line and say, I'm going to put you into a factory where we're going to make missiles.
Trump went on to explain exactly why foreign labor is sometimes necessary.
They raided because they wanted illegal immigrants out. They had people from South Korea that made batteries all their lives. You know, making batteries are very complicated. It's not an easy thing and very dangerous. A lot of explosions, a lot of problems. They had like 500 or 600 people, early stages, to make batteries and to teach people how to do it. Well, they wanted them to get out of the country. You're going to need that, Laura. I mean, I know you and I disagree on this. You can't just say country's coming in, going to invest $10 billion to build a plant, and going to take people off an unemployment line who haven't worked in 5 years, and they're going to start making missiles. It doesn't work that way.
Undoubtedly, some members of the MAGA coalition will be upset to hear this, but guess what? Facts don't care about your feelings, and the fact of the matter is Trump is absolutely right about this. If we want to get serious about manufacturing in America and be less reliant on imports from foreign countries, then we need to build things here. And we're going to need skilled laborers to do it. That includes skilled immigrants. The Georgia factory example is very, very useful. In that case, South Korean immigrants had come here to help build a factory. Due to the quirks of immigration law, they were allowed to help advise on the project, but not do physical work regarding the project, possibly. Again, it's not totally clear. The law is actually somewhat vague and contradictory on what precisely they are allowed to do. Well, immigration authorities raided the factory and sent them back to Korea. These immigrants are not criminals. They are not spies. South Korea is our friend and ally against China. These immigrants were helping us build a factory so that we can do things in America. And we want to send them away? It's madness. Now look, I know there's some MAGA populists who will say, we can hire Americans to build things, we just need to pay them better. And to that I say, okay, sure. You know what? Why don't you try to build a factory and instead of getting the best deal you can for the raw materials and labor costs, you arbitrarily force yourself to pay more and have the process take longer. Obviously that would be idiotic, and yet it's the precise demand of this faction of MAGA. Make it slower, harder, and stupider to build things. Slower, harder, stupider. That's the mantra of protectionism, in fact. You might say, well, what if it takes longer or costs more to build it here? Isn't it better if we pay Americans rather than foreigners? The problem is you could use that logic to apply to really anything, consumer electronics, furniture, clothing, food. You want to pay a lot more for it so you can feel the moral superiority of knowing it was crafted by American hands. That's really just an evolved form of the left progressive buy local argument, which has long tried to argue that we should prefer food that is grown locally or clothing that is stitched together locally. I actually used to encounter this argument in college all the time. Guess what? The hippies of Ann Arbor were wrong then, and they're wrong now, even if they've started wearing MAGA hats, I guess. Look, even Kristi Noem, the nation's foremost authority on deportations, she understands why skilled immigration is important.
What is the administration's position on these visas?
Now, we're going to keep using our visa programs. We're just going to make sure that they have integrity, that we're actually doing the vetting of the individuals who come into this country, that they want to be here for the right reasons, that they're not supporters of terrorists and organizations that hate America. And that's what I think is so remarkable is under the Trump administration, we've sped up our process and added integrity to the visa programs, to green cards, to all of that. But also more people are becoming naturalized under this administration than ever before.
Noem is exactly right. We should vet the immigrants. We should make sure they share our values and that they want to work. If you're coming to the U.S. looking for a handout or planning to commit crimes or simping for terrorists, then our borders are closed to you. But if you want to help make America a better place and grow our economy, then welcome to the team. And the factory that the South Koreans were working on is a really clear example of, I think, where this just goes all awry in terms of the mass deportation scenario. They were brought here on visas to advise on this project, and then the technical distinction about whether you're advising other people on how to build something and then or actually assisting them in building it. I mean, come on. That's starting to get like really stupid government malfeasance. And they were wrongfully deported, and now there are delays to build that factory. I mean, like, you want to build things here, this is what it takes. And Trump said, I love when Trump just speaks the truth to people sometimes and is like, look, I'm sorry, I know you want it all to be Americans, but that's not cost efficient, so it's not how it's going to be. And I appreciate that candor from the president. So,
first of all, I appreciated the phrase, the hippies of Ann Arbor, in your radar.
My old friends.
Great band, for their earlier work. No, anyway, it's, look, I think there are two separate points on the immigration debate as it pertains to these kinds of visas. One is a debate about skills, and another is a debate about wages. I, of course, like I think most people should think that it is best for the United States or any country to draw the people with the skills that it needs to inside its borders so that those skills can be harnessed to the country's advantage. And I would argue, in fact, that one of the failings of our immigration system is that it isn't particularly overall tailored to the country's needs.
It's not.
Now, that to me is a separate issue from importing workers because they will work for lower wages. I think you like that because you think it's more market efficient. I dislike it because I think it hollows out protections for workers and tries to, or gets into a kind of race to the bottom. That's the objection I have here. I do agree that the situation in the factory in Georgia was pretty absurd. I mean, those people were openly there. It was a bit of a distinction without a difference as to what they were doing, what they were purportedly doing wrong. It doesn't seem to me they were doing anything very wrong. That was just a kind of debacle.
Right, and then people will say, but the the government of the state of Georgia gave the Hyundai money to build that factory, for the purpose of employing Americans, when the factory is running. They did not promise in the building of the factory be only American labor to do it, because that might cost 3 times or 10 times more. And I can't take seriously people who you should consciously choose to spend more when a different labor pool is available. Now, I understand your issue about wages. That to me speaks to, it certainly is unfair to American laborers if, because of the law, employers are required to pay them or treat them differently or better because of labor protections for them, and then there's this also competing pool of labor that is more efficient for the employer. Well, that's actually not fair to the American labor. So that I agree is wrong and should be gotten away with. That speaks to the need to have those people who have an illegal status have some kind of legal status so that then it's not unfair competition. They're entitled to whatever the protections are that the American workers are getting, and then you wouldn't have that inequality.
Yes.
So I'm all for that, yeah.
Right, exactly. The danger is people being essentially indentured servants.
Right, we don't want that.
That's obviously a problem.
Yeah.
In any event, more than 20,000 documents related to Jeffrey Epstein were released on Wednesday, and President Trump is named in some of them. We will be right back to talk more about that. Stay with us.